Welcome everyone to another episode of the Spread the Positive podcast. I have a very special guest with us today. It is Dr. James Dawes with Stones River Chiropractic here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Just going to get into a little exchange about posturing and positive energy and how that all kind of ties together. So Dr. Dawes, thank you for being here.
Very welcome. I'm glad to be here. This is cool. I love this podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just getting into it, kind of how we do it is just a little backstory, how you developed your, positive mindset, just how you deal with difficult situations, difficult people. So just start from the beginning. Where are you from and stuff?
I'm actually originally from Canada, and went to school just on the border, to university on the border, right by Detroit.
Okay.
And then I eventually made my way to Dallas, Texas, for chiropractic college. Went to Parker College of Chiropractic there. Ended up meeting my wife there.
Okay.
We ended up moving back to Canada for 8 years. Cool. And then her family's here in Murfreesboro, so we ended up back here to be closer to her mom and dad. And we've been here since 2010, and it's a great area.
Yeah.
So yeah, we really like it here.
Cool. Well, how was your childhood like? What were you into? What were your passions early on? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I actually I consider myself pretty lucky, but my family has been just a great source. My wife always says she married me for my family. Totally my mom and dad are like Ward and June Cleaver. They're just great people.
Right.
Just really positive with us as kids. Mom, if you came home with a bad grade, I was actually, more of the liked going to school, but I'd get a bad grade, get upset, and she'd she'd say in 10 years, are you going to remember that you got a 50 on your math test, and is anyone going to care? And so she was always positive with us growing up. My dad was always a baseball coach, t-ball coach. He always helped us out. So they were around, they were there. So actually we had a pretty positive upbringing, which helps. I know some people haven't. They've turned it around. I consider myself to be in that category where I was lucky to have parents that were positive for me from the get-go, and I guess I've just maintained that.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's same for me, very similar. Yeah, we, the coaches and then sports all the time, and mom always there to, so definitely can relate to all that. Shout out to all the good parents out there for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, current life, what do you have going on nowadays?
Well, in current life, and it's funny, I've been listening to your podcast, and we talked about this before. I was saying, wow, there's all these people doing so much in the community, and I have the desire to help out and do more, but I think I'm in the phase of life where my boys are just at that age where everything is about them right now. I mean, other than work. I mean, I go to work and I love what I do, but I've got a 13-year-old son and an 11-year-old son.
Right.
11, we're driving for hockey all over the country. We're driving to swimming down in Nashville. He's baseball and golf and track after school. So it seems to me that my wife and our time is just devoted to the boys, which
totally
is okay.
How it should be.
It really is. And I helped coach when they were younger, like t-ball. When my expertise on how t-ball and where first base was, I had that down.
Gotcha.
But as I got older, coaching how someone to pitch the ball, and so that wasn't my forte.
Right.
So obviously I stepped back and just became dad. And now that my son's getting into track and field, that's what I did growing up, and through university. So I might get into coaching that a little bit, but right now it's really more about family and work. And I would love to say that I'm clean up the streets or have a foundation for the kids, but really I can only support those right now. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
That's definitely speaks for itself in all the right ways. So definitely salute to that. And I do want to say this on a podcast. There's definitely not a measuring stick with any of the guys.
Right.
No,
right.
not calling you out, calling out like the audience and anybody who thinks they might not be worthy, quote unquote, worthy of being on the show. Trust me, you are. All of us are. So
well, we talked about that, but you've had some amazing guests who are doing so much.
Right, absolutely.
And I applaud them, and I think that's wonderful. But I guess if we can all be positive in certain ways, some people are going to step up and have those what's the youth program that the guy's doing, the gym?
Endure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sitting there
Tough
going,
to
wow,
top. That's tough to top. Yeah.
That guy's amazing.
Shout out to Joel.
Yeah,
and Endure.
way to go, Joel. But hopefully in certain times of our life, we can all be a part of that. Like whether or not we can actually do that, maybe we can support it a little bit, or bring it up, or mention it on a podcast that gets
that
some
is
word.
spreading the positive.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Absolutely.
No, I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. So speaking on spread the positive, one of the main things is just how do you focus on being positive, optimistic on a day-to-day basis? Do you have any morning routines? Do you have any go-to thoughts when things get hectic? Anything along those lines?
Yeah, I've tried a lot of these. I read a lot, and I've done a lot of these different. Wake up early and do all those. I've never found anything that really works for me other than just getting inside my head and just knowing that I can only be who I'm going to be, and just try to be. I'm generally a positive person, anyways, and you have bad days, but I don't have any set routine, and I don't know. I always think, well, maybe that's a bad thing, but I think some of us just don't.
Definitely.
So I've researched and done a lot on posture, and it's kind of navigated me through to how to kind of life hack positivity.
Right.
And although I don't like the phrase "fake it till you make it," there's a lot of science behind that.
Absolutely.
So. And that's I don't know if you want me to go through that type
jump
of stuff.
into it. Yeah.
We were talking about posture and how I use research in my practice as far as trying to teach people that posture does matter as far as when they're sitting up straight. So there's lots of studies that I've gotten for people just to kind of understand their posture sitting up straight, and a whole bunch
posture,
right. You start sitting up straight when you're talking about it.
Right.
But there's lots of studies that have been done on height.
Right.
So as people shrink, bar none, their health degenerates or degrades as they shrink. And I've just got some notes in front of me. I know one of the studies was like they did almost 2,000 or 3,000 between men and women, and they found that those that shrunk more than an inch essentially had much higher risk of hip fracture. Wow. Another one they did, they followed 4,200 men between the ages of 40 and 60. They followed them for 20 years and 6 years afterwards, and they found that those that lost 1.2 inches were more likely to have already died or have coronary heart failure.
Wow.
So it's like all these things leading to posture as far as, and when you think about it, it's hard to see this on the podcast, but if you just kind of roll your shoulders forward and hunch down, it actually collapses your rib cage, which makes you breathing more difficult, and then your heart rate has to work harder. If you're shrinking due to your disc spaces in between, it's going to it's just going to slow down your nervous system, and then your whole body is more open for a disease process. But as far as that, we talk about that in my practice, but that led me to watching this one TED Talk, and this is where I think your podcast listeners on Spread the Positive are going to get the most benefit. This is, to me, is like a simple life hack.
Right.
So Amy Cuddy, and you can look her up, just YouTube like the TED Talk or Amy Cuddy, and just put in Amy Cuddy posture.
Right.
And watch her talk. But so they know, researchers know that when someone is sad, you can see their posture. So when you see someone sitting at a restaurant and they're slunched over and their hands are in and their head is down, they're sad or they're frightened or something, some type of an emotion that's on the kind of more on the negative side, I would guess.
Right.
And the positive side, or the power pose, you would see someone open. They showed that blind children who would finish a race would throw their arms up and throw their chin up in victory, like Usain Bolt does.
Right.
But they've never seen it before.
Right.
And the natural instinct. So our natural body instinct on positive and power is to open up. So they did studies on this, and they actually found that after 2 minutes of doing power poses, like opening your shoulders, Wonder Woman, picture Wonder Woman, hands on the hips, standing up tall, 2 minutes of doing power poses, increased testosterone, and decreased cortisol. Now, cortisol is the stress hormone.
Right.
So they're literally showing that you can fake it till you make it. So you can reverse engineer posture to make your physiology better.
Man, that's really cool.
Is it
I
neat?
totally believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that's not accurate. Like it has. Yeah, I totally agree. It's so cool. Yeah, I just that's just interesting on every level. What else do you have on that? Just keep
Yeah.
going.
Well, no, that's fine. The another sort of side note to that is smiling. So when you go to the positivity side,
Yep.
they know that when someone is happy, they smile. It's a natural instinct.
Right.
So when someone is sad, you can literally kind of force them to smile and produce happiness
Yeah.
in them. And
Right.
they've done this. This is not this isn't just hearsay.
Is there a
I mean,
study
they've
on that?
done research. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't know which one is the happy one because I know Amy Cuddy talks about it.
Right.
Mark Bowden talks about it because he talks about all the bad body language.
Mm-hmm.
So those it's called the oh boy, what is it called? The facial. I can't remember what it's actually called. When you change your face, you can change your attitude on the inside.
So, yeah, okay.
There's a term for it, but
Right.
I can't think of it off the top of my head. But so if you're going in for a job interview, actually they did this study. So they had people go in for a job interview, and half the group did power poses for 2 minutes, and half the group did sort of closed in posture for 2 minutes, and then they had these real strict interview where the person was giving you no biofeedback, and they actually found that they had people measuring who they would hire, and it was staggering.
Yeah.
They would hire the people who did the power poses. So just
That's
life
real, man.
hack
That's
is
really cool.
open yourself up, kind of getting those power poses. If you need a boost in the morning, stand in front of the mirror or whatever with the hands on the hips, or if you're sitting down, put your hands behind your head, open them up.
Hit 'em with the Cam Newton.
Cam Newton. Yeah, Cam Newton. hold that. Superman. Yeah, Superman, Wonder Woman. It's all the superheroes, right?
Absolutely.
But and then smile. Like literally just smile a little bit.
Yep.
And Mark Bowden goes into a whole bunch more body language. Well,
Yeah.
we were talking about this before the podcast. The studies that showed that 55% of communication is nonverbal.
Absolutely.
38% is the voice elements, and only 7% is the words.
Wow.
Now, that study is only based on emotional talk. So you'll get people argue that and say, well, words are obviously important. Well, yes, they are. Especially in a podcast, they can't see our body language.
Yeah.
So obviously the vocal intent is a lot higher.
Can you say those numbers again?
Yeah. So it's and this is by Dr. Albert Mehrabian. I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but he did a study back at UCLA, or he's a professor at UCLA now, and they basically through research showing on people talking about emotions. So I say to my wife, I said, "Well, are you still angry at me?" And she goes, "No." And that no means she's still angry at me.
That's a low key yes.
Yeah. But anyways, it was 55% of the way we communicate is nonverbal. So basically the person's expression on their face, their body language, their hand movements. 38% is the voice elements. So if
Like
someone's
how it
talking
sounds to
happy
you.
and excited, or they're talking sad and slow. And then 7% is the actual words.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So
what is actually being said is that low? Or I mean,
on emotion.
Right.
On emotion. So and
great.
I think that's where you get people arguing about it, because they'll say, well, words are obviously important, but for emotion, when people are talking emotionally,
I see where that comes in though, like because people might not hear exactly what you're saying, but how you're saying it is a lot bigger.
100%.
Yeah, so that's why that definitely adds up in my head.
Yeah,
it's just crazy that 7 is really, really low.
Yeah, 7 is
crazy.
really low.
Yeah.
It's really low. So and then as this information, like I'm going through books, I'm going through different things. I track on to Mark Bowden, who talks about body language, and he's the one that talks about there's people kind of categorize you in 4 different types. And they categorize you into either an enemy or a friend, a sexual partner, which probably,
Right.
or indifferent.
Right.
And right away when you see a person, they like in an instant,
Or in those 4 categories.
we automatically put it. So if someone's coming down the street at a dark alley and everything else, and they got their hands in their pocket and they're wearing a big trench coat, our brain automatically goes to, oh no.
Yeah.
And if you got someone coming with hands open and smiling and
Yeah.
eyebrows raised and a proper smile, you automatically would kind of put them in friend. And he says the overwhelming amount of people put you in the indifferent category. So when you're talking about the spread the positive, I got thinking about your podcast a lot, and I thought, how many people lose out on opportunities because our natural instinct is to put everyone in this indifferent category. And how many people do you not meet a potential mate or friend or even an enemy to know someone to stay away from because you're indifferent to everybody?
That's huge.
And
Great.
so that comes back to the smiling part, that they were talking about, saying a life hack is just to, and he talks about this in one of the TED Talks I was watching. He says literally he'll walk down the street, open himself up, smile, and he'll literally look at someone in the eyes and raise his eyebrows, and the person responds back just by sheer natural instinct. And he said, how many people have come up to him and said, hey, how you doing? Yeah, how's everything going? How do I know you? And he's like, you don't.
That's awesome. I love that. That is spread the positive right there. Yes,
exactly. So if you're networking and you're going around and you're just kind of like, I don't know anyone, and you're standing in the corner with the posture shrugged down and your shoulders in.
I've been that guy. It's not as much fun.
Right. And how many people do you meet, right?
Zero. Or very
Zero.
few.
Or few.
And it's
someone come. So you open yourself up, you look at someone, you smile, you go, and all of a sudden you're meeting people and your opportunities just roll off.
That is so accurate.
That's cool.
Could not agree more.
I'm going to tie it into one more thing.
Yeah, go.
Before we go on to the next thing. So we talk about posture for health, then we talk about posture for, hacking the body as far as Amy Cuddy talks about, like, it actually changes the hormones. Then we talk about the smile can literally make you happy and how people are already putting in indifferent. And then I was reading a book, and this was just like 2 days ago. I opened this book up, and it's by Janice Kaplan, and the book is How to Be Lucky. How Luck Happens.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, that person's so lucky. But, and that's, we were talking about the quote just before, luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. And that's an old Roman philosopher. But she talks about basically that same principle where you can increase your luck or you can make yourself luckier. Yeah. So if you take all those other things into account and you can stand up taller and smile, and then put yourself in those situations that maybe make you feel uncomfortable, like coming on podcast with you or going to the network meeting. All of a sudden, you meet your future spouse. You meet your dream job person. You meet the person that can introduce you to the person that you've been looking to meet. Absolutely. Because you put yourself out there. So the luck sort of rolls into the fact that you're hacking the fact that maybe you were feeling miserable sitting on your couch wanting to watch TV. When you open yourself out, force yourself to smile and force yourself to get out there and meet people.
Yeah.
So
it's all
anyways,
about. That's huge. I mean, that's everything. That's everything spread the positive.
Right.
See, so yeah, you're spot on with all this. Rob Deerdeck says, make your own luck. So I mean,
right. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. It's always shout out to Rob Deerdeck.
That's great.
So yeah, just moving on. What another big key component with spread the positive is focusing on what is going right. What you feel any organizations, individuals, causes, business practices, pretty much anything that you think is working currently.
I think a lot is going right. Yep. And honestly, I mean, you just need to go back on your podcast. If this is the first podcast that someone is listening to on yours, they need to go back and look at the original ones because, quite frankly, I think our community is amazing. And that's why we were saying that, you might not feel worthy coming on here because if you have listened to those, there's some people doing amazing things. So I think our community in Murfreesboro is really got it right.
Yep.
I think with the MYP and with the other groups, with Endure Fitness, there's people helping people all over. And I hope that continues. And I hope I can jump into something like that as I get less busy with the kids or find a way to help out. But that's, to me,
you should bring your voice to Endure. Saturday mornings. I bet that's probably primo hockey time. But
it can get into primo hockey time some days,
but definitely.
I'd love
come out to
it.
Endure. That's perfect ages for them to be really involved with it's just pickup sports on Saturday mornings. So
I like that.
Yeah, we'll
shout out again to Endure.
Yeah, shout out to Endure, man, doing big things. They got some big things in the works. I'm really pumped for Joel. It's coming together the way it should be. So definitely Endure is a common occurrence on the show, one that's near and dear to my heart, and one that is certainly working. So definitely all of that. Moving on, kind of one of the closing questions-ish things is, with the mission of Spread the Positive, I mean, you kind of being more familiar with it, who is the first person that comes to your mind when you think of Spread the Positive and the mission?
Oddly enough, when I was reading this question, there's so many people that are doing great things, around town. But kind of going back, when I think of Spread the Positive things, I just kept coming up with my parents.
There you go.
Just the things my mom said to me as we were growing up. My dad sort of always helping out with us with athletics and with things as we go, and they're still to this day, they help us out when we need it, and they're always there. And so when I think of Spread the Positive, I just can't give a shout out more than I can to my own parents, which makes me think, gosh, I got big shoes to fill because I've got to turn around and do that for my own. So I guess realistically, if we could spread the pot to just good parents out there,
that's me too.
And I know we all have things to learn and be better, but to me, that's where it starts.
Yep. I can say that again. I mean, saying it earlier, my folks have been the same way for me. So very, very grateful for that. And that kind of transitions right into the grateful for. 4 things that you're most grateful for right now.
Grateful for. So obviously, my family, it's just, if we had to be somewhere else in the world, or we had to be, I'd have those guys. So I've got my wife, Kimberly, who's been great. And, she moved up to Canada with me for 8 years, and I don't think she'd lived north of the Mason-Dixie line before she met me. So to move up to the tundra for 8 years, and we moved down here, and so she's been great. My boys are, they're growing and they're changing and adapting, and I just, I love them, obviously. I would say, my career is something I'm really grateful for. I found something that I really enjoy, I really like. I can help people in the office.
Really good at it.
Well,
so that's good.
I enjoy it, and I'm always trying to learn more new things. And if I can't help someone, I'll try to let them know. If I can, I'll do my best. And I'm really happy for that because not a lot of people get a career that they enjoy. So that helps me stay positive.
Right.
I would say it's kind of a weird one, but freedom in general. Like, sometimes I just sit back and I go, oh my goodness, like I lived in Canada and I lived here. I always figure Canada's kind of like the 51st state. It's, it's like, it's really similar, but just the veterans who are going off and doing what they need to do to keep this country the way it is. I'm really actually quite happy about that. And I think about that a lot. In Canada, we have Remembrance Day, and down here, obviously, there's, Veterans Day and 4th of July and all those things. But that's just so huge that we live in an area that we can do that. And I'd say the 4th thing is really people like yourself. In a weird way, the information age like YouTube, this podcast, I'm so thankful that information is readily available for us. Now, there's a lot of junk out there, but there's so many people doing stuff like this, spreading the positive. I fixed my laundry machine one time with with a YouTube video that someone put out there, and I'm really thankful for that, for people sharing.
I've been thinking that a lot lately. I bring it up to a lot of folks just on, kind of been wanting to bring it up on a podcast anyway, and Gary Vee always talks about this, how right now it's just such an incredible time. Like,
it is.
People are like all mad about everything and so focused on every dividing thing that they can. Like, you have to pick a side of a Twix bar. Like, that's the dumbest stuff ever. I hate it. Like, it's so calculated. Don't get me fully started on that, but I'm just pumped. I'm pumped for exactly like the technology and the fact that there's a lot going right. Like we keep pointing out on this podcast and in general, the technology is insane. Like the stuff that used to be like able to sweep under the rug, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Like they'll come up. I mean, there'll be crazy stuff down the line. We know, but things are good. Things are honestly good. Really good.
Yeah.
And that's what this podcast is ultimately about, just finding that. The fact that you have to go out of your way to find it and look for it and focus on it is an issue in itself, but, a little dent at a time, just a little bit here and there. So, man, that was really good, Dr. Dawes. I've really enjoyed the posturing and the mental and the smiling. It's stuff we know.
Exactly.
It's stuff we know.
When I say it, people are probably going, I knew that. I knew I could smile and make myself happy. I can sit up straight. But you don't do it all the time.
You won't go do it.
Exactly.
Or I've had those times where I'm just straight up. Like, I just couldn't get up. I didn't want to. I didn't. It's so easy to not, or to lose sight of how great things really are. So this, again, it's this stuff is invaluable in my opinion. I'm really glad we made it happen, and you got all this down, spoke some of your truth, and just all of this. I really appreciate it all, and look forward to future endeavors. Thanks a lot.
Hey, no problem.
Yes, sir.
Talk to you soon.
Yep.